Joining us today, we welcome Carmen Chang. She is the new General Manager of EmpowerLA. We're glad to have you on with us today.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Yes, so tell us a little bit about EmpowerLA. What do you guys do over there?
So EmpowerLA is LA City Department's Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. So we are the department that supports 99 neighborhood councils throughout the city of Los Angeles. So they're all volunteer. There are 1,500 volunteers throughout the city that come together and form part of these advisory bodies. So we always say that neighborhood councils are your voice at City Hall.
And you mentioned that the neighborhood councils it's all voluntary. Are they elected amongst themselves?
Yes, they are elected. So there are elections that happen every 2 years. And so, for example, next year in 2025, we'll have elections for throughout all the regions of the city.
And then in your office, the EmpowerLA office, how is that structured? Are you an elected official or are you an appointed official?
As the general manager, I was appointed by Mayor Karen Bass. So I've been on the job for about 5 months. So she recently appointed me and I was confirmed by the LA City Council.
Nice. Let's get back to the elections. You've only, like you said, been on the job for 5 months. Elections coming up. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you folks in your office are really involved in?
Well, we very much support in terms of outreach, election outreach, getting the word out. Our department works really closely with the Office of the City Clerks. So the whole process of, how to run as a candidate, what is candidate filing, and EmpowerLA, we are working on, making sure that every Angelino is aware. Hey, elections are coming up. Do you want to make a difference in your neighborhood to serve your communities and serve the city of Los Angeles? There's a place for you to take part.
And how many people are on the council board for any given neighborhood?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting that with all 99 neighborhood councils, it's very diverse. It's actually up to each of the neighborhood council to determine how many folks serve on the board, their committees, and all those kinds of things. So it can range anywhere from, let's say, 9 people to even up to, say, 25.
Then on the neighborhood council level, they're charged with having meetings how often?
So their general meetings are about once a month,
okay.
And then they have various committees, and those committees also meet, routinely about once a month.
They're committees within the neighborhood committee?
Yes.
And just as an example, maybe what would some of those committees deal with?
Yeah, so I think that a lot of times Angelinos say, hey, I want to either learn how city government works or how I can make a difference in my community. Mm-hmm. And so there's opportunities, yes, to serve the general board. But let's say, hey, I really want to hone in on a certain issue or something I really care about, or maybe I have a background in. So whether that's public transit, or maybe someone really cares about environmental issues or safety or housing, anything along those lines, they can create a committee and serve on that committee.
Okay, so once those neighborhood committees meet and say there's an issue that's established, there's been a pothole in front of my apartment for 4 years, whatever the issue is. Where does the information from the neighborhood committee go from there?
Yeah, so I think in terms of, let's say for the example of potholes, we are the department that supports working very closely with other city departments that provide street services or street lighting, for example. So there is that app where you can go onto the website, it's called 311, to get those services fixed. But I think if it's something that there's a sinkhole or something really big in a specific neighborhood, that would certainly be discussed amongst the committee. If the neighborhood council board agrees, they can formulate a letter to be then shared to City Hall.
The daily responsibilities for you folks over there at EmpowerLA, what's a good example of what you would handle at any given day?
First and foremost, it's again to support the 99 neighborhood councils, making sure that they have really the tools in their toolbox to make sure their councils are running effectively. Yeah. So as we mentioned, they meet once a month, and because we want to make sure all of their meetings, for example, are transparent to the public, we make sure that they have to post their meeting agendas, for example, and the department at EmpowerLA takes a look at it, makes sure everything's ready to go to be posted, publicly.
Yes.
So that's one way. We make sure that presidents of each of the board, as well as just the board members, generally feel supported. We understand that you're a volunteer. By the way, these are all volunteers. And not everyone will come with a city government background. And so we want to make sure, okay, if you're coming together to put together this meeting, if you're thinking about donating to a nonprofit, which is one thing they could do. It's called a neighborhood purpose grant, or etc. Or we want to plan a community event. How can we actually make these things happen?
In order to be on one of the neighborhood councils or even attend a meeting, do I need to live in that neighborhood specifically?
So if you serve on the board, yes, you have to either live or work or rent or own property.
Okay.
You can also be a stakeholder. So yes, if you're in the general area, you can attend a meeting to tune in.
Is there a trend as to what comes to the neighborhood council as concerns individually? I know there's 99 of them, but do you see this address is brought up a lot,
Yeah, I would say just generally housing, homelessness, it is probably one of the top issues, as well as kind of environmental concerns, things like traffic, speeding, and making sure that our streets are safe, as well as safety.
The individual councils, how are they funded?
Yeah, they're entirely funded by the City of Los Angeles. Currently each year they receive $32,000.
And that goes between all 99 councils?
Yes.
What then do they do with that?
Each of them have the responsibility, obviously there's a treasurer, there's the elected, the officials that have to take these trainings of how to manage the money, right? They have to set a budget for the course of the year. And the way that the money is spent throughout the course of the year is usually it's gonna be, administrative costs on paying for the meeting space,
yes,
conducting the meeting, taking meeting minutes, and all those kinds of things for setup. Community events, hey, we want to organize a block party. We'll use some of this funding to, make it happen. And also, I think I mentioned earlier, the neighborhood purpose grant. So there are opportunities if the neighborhood council chooses to donate to local nonprofits in their neighborhood that are also making a difference.
Is there a need for younger people to be involved?
We definitely support young people getting involved. We want people to be engaged, right? That civic participation piece, I think, is really important in today's age, especially, I think post-pandemic, where folks still feel that sense of isolation. Here's an opportunity to really come together as community members. And I really think that if we can invest in young people to give them that sense of civic duty, that will just be a better society.
Do you have a vision, a further vision for EmpowerLA? You've been at it for 5 months. What do you see future-wise happening?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make sure that this is a system that continues to succeed, right? The department has been around for 25 years since the creation. We were created from the 1999 charter from the city. And we are, not to brag, but we are the nation's largest grassroots civic engagement model. And we want to make sure that it is a model that will continue, that it is inclusive, it is representative of all communities, and we want to make sure that people feel like it is a place for them to feel welcomed and they can take a part in.
So if folks want to get more information about EmpowerLA,
yeah, absolutely. Visit empowerla.org for more details.
Okay, and then from there, it will take us to, I live in Sylmar.
Yes, exactly. There's a handy little map. You can plug in your address and it'll show on the map, this is your neighborhood council. Here's more information on how to get involved.
Easy to access.
Very easy to access.
I love that. Thank you so much, Carmen, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you on.